Hey, horror fans! Once again, it is me, the Horror Miser Monty G. We're on the final day of Wildlife Week, and for day 7, I'm going to review the found footage horror film called Poltergeist Encounters.
Don't fuck with them hoes.
Now, Poltergeist Encounters is a 2016 found footage horror film. It was written and directed by John Miglore. It also stars John Miglore, Andre Guantanamo, I think that's pronounced this, Rachel Hopkins, and Matt Badura. Now, in this film, Poltergeist Encounters is a found footage horror film set in an empty suburban home filled with dark secrets. Ooh. Now, I would have to say, especially for independent filmmakers, perhaps one of the easiest and probably least expensive films to make is found footage. Really don't need to have that much as far as the budget wise is concerned. And again, it depends upon what type of a found footage film you want to make. But most even big time producers or Hollywood studios can easily make a found footage horror film because they're very inexpensive. Now, as far as independent filmmakers are concerned, they want to do a found footage horror film. Depending upon what type of film they want to do, what type of budget they're looking for, they can easily produce one. Depending upon the right situations, how they film the film, what type of a story do they have, and what type of actors do they get. Some independent filmmakers can make a decent found footage horror film. We found out with the Blair Witch Project that came out way back in the mid 80s, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that. Now, you can either have a good found footage horror film made by independent filmmakers or a bad one. And again, that depends upon the filmmaker and how much he's willing to spend in order to make a found footage horror film. And hence, that's what we have here in John Miglagora's latest movie called Poltergeist Encounters. Now, in this particular film, he plays a character named Anton, who is the leader, I guess you could say, of this found footage investigators called Poltergeist Encounters, sort of like a cheaper version of some of the paranormal TV shows that we see, like Ghost Encounters or any of these other ghost encounters that they show on the Sci-Fi Channel. He has this couple of this little small crew. They got this Australian guy named Mick, the badass girl named Rachel, and this Tex guy named Terrence. Yeah, so you have Anton, Mick, Rachel, and Terrence. They all wind up getting this new job at this woman's house who said their house is haunted. So they all go over there and spend the night there, trying to pick up anything weird or creepy happening in the house. Now, like I said, there's nothing fancy. We've seen this type of setup before in many found footage horror films. We have this group of paranormal investigators. They go into a haunted house, like in Ghost Encounters. Ghost Encounters is a prime example of this type of a setup. You have this, they film everything live. They got all the equipment together, and they're supposed to be able to record any type of weird stuff that happens. Again, just like we see on Ghost Hunters on the Sci-Fi Channel. Now, like I said before, if done right, depending upon the type of budget that you have, an independent filmmaker can make a decent found footage horror film. Unfortunately, John does not do no such thing in this particular found footage horror film. First problem, it's dark. It's dark, dark. Now, don't get me wrong. Not a problem being dark because you are doing a found footage horror film. There's going to be some dark scenes in there and you won't be able to see anything. But most of this movie is dark. Again, I don't know if he didn't have the type right lighting. The only lighting that he used is the lights, the flashlights that he has on top of the characters' heads. There's the only light source that we have in the film, so we really can't see anything that happens. It's bright, but kind of not bright enough or night enough to actually show all the characters. It's probably good when they're talking to each other, and I guess the reason why he did it that way and trying to create some type of tension and suspense. But unfortunately, that's what the problem we have here. If you're going to do that, then you want to make sure that the movie has something that's supposed to at least create some type of fear, where we feel sorry or we expect something, and we don't get that in this particular film. I mean, one of the success that the Blair Witch Project have, and yes, We only had the three. Actors that were in the film, but it because of how it was filmed and how it was set up, you did get that tension and suspense. You really felt sorry for Heather and her two co-stars. We don't get any of that here. Another problem that John has with his film is his script. Nothing really kind of happens in here. We see them talking. There's at one point Rachel wants to leave because she's getting spooked out, and then all of a sudden we see her again, but then it's not Rachel, and then she's dead and she disappears, but then her body disappears, but there's no gotcha factor. There's nothing happens in this particular film. They talk, they make a lot of sense, and there's no real true emotion going on in the film. It's like they're just reading their lines without emoting, and that's another problem John has with this film. It doesn't get his actors to emote. And again, that's another problem with this scene. That when Rachel supposedly dies, but her body disappears, the same thing happens with Terrence and then also with Mick. Then we also find out that Mick is not Australian, which is we don't know why he's trying to do that. There's no type of character build up in this particular film. It's just random scenes put together by John, but there's no real character development in this film at all. We don't know who these characters really are. All we know is that they're supposed to get paid 50 grand to spend a night at this house, but nothing kind of happens. There's nothing happen. All it is a bunch of actors staying in this empty house with a very dark room and lights on their head, and that's it. When looking up John's work on IMDb, it seems like he's done a lot of low budget horror films. I haven't really seen any of them. I don't know if they're as bad as this one is, but obviously he really needs to take a step back and make sure, if he's going to do a found footage horror film, one, he's got to do some character development with his characters, try to put some emotion into his characters when he's directing this film, and he's also got to do a little bit better than what he did in this particular film, because I really didn't find anything enjoyable watching this film. There's one good thing is when you're trying to do something, and I know it's difficult being an independent filmmaker, but at least try to put the effort in here. And then I don't really see any true effort in this particular film. And kind of sad that we had to end Wildeye Week on a kind of a bit of a sour note, because as much as I always like to give independent filmmakers the benefit of the doubt. Again, as I said before, obviously one of the hardest things being an independent filmmaker, there's two things. One is obviously the finance, getting the money together to make the film, and of course getting the film released. And like I said, we always praise Wildeye releasing for at least allowing independent filmmakers a chance to distribute their works, and hopefully some of the good ones that I've seen so far this week get noticed, and hopefully it advances their careers. So there you have it. We have completed another Wildeye Week. I hope you guys did enjoy it. Once again, I want to thank Brad from Bronco Juggalo Talks Movies. Once again, I'm pretty sure he might do it again later on this year. If it's so, we're going to have another fantastic Wildeye Week. And so, like I said, that's my video for the day, guys. Hope you did enjoy the video. Please give me a thumbs up, like, and share, because it really helps out with that YouTube algorithm. Also, if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell. That way you'll be notified anytime when I put a new video such as this one. Once again, my name is Lamont Smith, better known as Horror Miser Monty G. And always remember that horror rules. And I see you in my next video. Like I say, safe out there.